All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Bruce Johnson, and I serve as the Chief of the Auxiliaries Youth Programs Division. This evening is our fourth quarterly AuxScout all hands staff forum. I hope that all AuxScout staff were informed about this forum, and I appreciate the many questions that you submitted in advance. We're going to start with some AuxScout basics, which I know is going to sound pretty basic for some of you, but I think it's good to review it. Next, we'll have a presentation on paddle training opportunities and resources. And finally, we'll address the many discussion topics that you submitted in advance of the forum. Tonight's forum will be about 60 minutes, and we have a very full agenda. Your mics are muted, so please don't try to turn them on unless you have an urgent question. Later in the meeting, I'm really going to look for your comments, so please unmute yourself then. Feel free to leave your video camera on. If you have a comment or question, please type it in the chat box. As we've already noted, Holly is monitoring that, and she'll break in if there's something that really needs to come up right then. Depending on how the time goes, we may be able to address your chat box questions, but any questions that we don't respond to during the forum, I'll respond to in writing afterwards. This is the beginning of a new calendar year, and most auxiliary leadership positions have just begun. For some of you, that may mean that you are a new AuxScout staff officer. For others, you have the responsibility to get new SOASs or FSOASs up to speed. Let's take a few moments to review what AuxScout officers are here for and what they need to know to be successful. You've been appointed to be the auxiliary's point person to implement the National Commodore's Sea Scout initiative. All staff jobs are leadership positions, and yours is arguably one of the most important jobs in the Coast Guard Auxiliary. Your shipmates will look to you to become the subject matter expert about Sea Scouts and the AuxScout program. Don't let them down by being unprepared. Download your job description for your position from AuxB Wiki and read it carefully. Download a sample report template for your job as well. You're expected to report at least monthly on what you're working on. A no report or nothing new or I can't do anything because of COVID is not a report. It's just an admission that you didn't do your job. We all have telephones. We all have computers and internet connections. Reach out to your shipmates and to local Sea Scout leaders to build bridges and build momentum. Talk to the AuxScout staff officers next up the parallel chain of leadership and get to know what they can do for you. They're there to help you succeed. Plan on speaking at least once a month. Take BSA's Youth Protection Training, which you're going to see us refer to as YPT, Sea Scout Adult Leader Basic Training, an even more cryptic SSALBT, Safe Swim Defense, and Safety Afloat courses. They're all online and they're all free. Let your DIROCs know when you've completed YPT and let your DSO know when you've completed each course. He or she should be tracking that information. Finally, watch the following AuxScout workshops, all of which have been recorded and are available on YouTube or AuxB Wiki. Workshops 102, 204, 206, and 207. Now, I should mention to you that the SOP requires that you do youth protection training, the Sea Scout Adult Leader Basic Training, Safe Swim Defense, and Safety Afloat training courses. That's a Coast Guard requirement. The other stuff is stuff you need to do so that you know what the heck you're doing. Get to know the AuxScout Memorandum of Agreement, or MOA, and the Standard Operating Procedure, or SOP. They're both online, and there's an AuxScout workshop number 201 that explains the SOP in detail. The SOP outlines how we should be working with the Sea Scouts. This document was developed by the Chief Director's Office with input from the Youth Programs team. Although the SOP is particularly directed towards auxiliaries who are working with Sea Scouts, the SOP also provides the ground rules for Sea Scouts who are interacting with the auxiliary and the Coast Guard. There are several important online resources that you need to be thoroughly familiar with. You don't necessarily need to memorize them, but knowing what they say will help you to answer questions quickly. They'll also give you ideas for what your next steps should be. AuxScout Wiki. You're going to hear a lot about that over the course of this meeting. AuxScout Wiki is the auxiliary website that provides detailed information about AuxScout. It can be reached from tinyurl.com/AuxScoutWiki. And you're going to see in the next several slides that there's a code here in the corner. If you prefer, you could just use your cell phone and snap a picture of that, and that'll take you to that page. Take some time to review AuxScout Wiki carefully. If you have questions about Sea Scouting or AuxScout, chances are you'll find your answers here. Make sure that you tell all of your shipmates about this resource. If there's one resource you really need to know, this is the one. The second resource that you need to be very familiar with is the Sea Scouts BSA website, and that has a really easy URL to remember, seascout.org. Don't go to seascouts.org. You'll find out about Sea Scouting in Sri Lanka at that address, and that's not going to help you too much with what we're doing here in the States. Although this is not an auxiliary website, it provides detailed information about Sea Scouting, our official youth program. There's even a page about how Sea Scouts work with us. It's at seascout.org/cgaux. We have a very active Facebook group with over 1,200 members, and the address is facebook.com/groups/AuxScout. The AuxScout program, training, workshop, and resource announcements will always appear here first. If you're a Facebook user, please subscribe to this group. Don't worry about getting spammed with political arguments or someone's Aunt Susie's favorite recipes. We only allow posts about the auxiliary, about Sea Scouts, and how the two groups work together. We recently developed an AuxScout YouTube channel, and it opened up about a month ago. The URL is on the slide here, or you can use your camera to shoot the QR code in the lower right corner. All of the AuxScout and STEM workshops, public affairs videos, and other cool stuff are available there. I'd like to ask you to please subscribe and ring the bell so that you'll be notified when new videos are posted. If we can get just a few more people to subscribe, we'll be able to get a shorter, more memorable web address. So that all by itself, please subscribe to this. When I checked it a little earlier this evening, we were up to 56 subscribers. We need to get up to 100. There's no cost to it, guys. We have over 40 videos, a lot of workshops, some promotional stuff, and some other really cool stuff. So please subscribe. Finally, we have an interactive map that shows what auxiliary flotillas and Sea Scout ships are in your area and how to contact them. Its address is tinyurl.com/AuxScoutMap. Take a look at your area. If there are places where there are flotillas but no Sea Scout groups, maybe you'll want to start a Sea Scout ship there. Conversely, an area with Sea Scout ships but no flotilla might be a great place for the auxiliary to expand. Check it out. Hook into our online workshops. They start at 2100 Eastern Time and are mostly on Sunday or Tuesday evenings. We have a terrific list of topics lined up, and we're happy to take your recommendations for additional topics. The next workshop will be on Sunday, January 24th. It'll teach you how to write a press release and an article about AuxScout. The workshop on January 26th is one of our Coast Guard Tech Talks, which is a series of workshops on STEM-related topics that support the Sea Scout Advancement Program. Lest you think that that isn't relevant to you, my flotilla has used several of these workshops as member training for our flotilla meetings. The workshop coming up on February 16th will basically teach you how to give a 3-minute elevator sales job about AuxScout and why it's important to the Coast Guard and the auxiliary. An important function of AuxScout staff officers is serving as a communicator. Get to know your local Sea Scout leadership and build relationships with them. Become very familiar with Sea Scout ships in your area. You'll find that each is unique with its own personality and needs. Talk to your flotilla and division leadership about AuxScout. Although some know a lot about Sea Scouts, I'm willing to bet that most don't. You are the subject matter subject matter expert and the salesman for AuxScout. You'll probably find that some of our leaders will feel that they're just too busy to bother with AuxScout. Help them understand that the auxiliary's future depends on working with Sea Scouts and selling them on the Coast Guard and the auxiliary. The auxiliary is really hurting for membership, particularly now during COVID times, and we need all the help we can get recruiting more younger members. DSOs. You have two jobs that are closely related to one another. The first is to ensure that AuxScout successfully grows in your district. The second is to help SOs deliver the goods. AuxScout is here to support the Sea Scouts while helping both the auxiliary and the Sea Scouts grow their membership. This will take your active leadership to make it happen. You'll need to develop a plan that clearly identifies what you're trying to accomplish and then motivate your team, your SOs and your FSOs, to make it happen. Although at the national level, we have some overarching goals and strategies, it will be the tactics that you develop locally that will ensure success. The keys will be building partnerships with the Sea Scouts on a personal and unit level, offering them training, whether it's public education or member training, and organizing new ships. Establish specific SMART goals and work closely, not just with your team, but also with your youth programs branch chief. And I'm assuming everybody knows what SMART means. Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely goals. Okay, so I'd like to take a few moments to just go over some best practice points that you need to keep in mind. The first one has to do with youth protection training. Coast Guard headquarters is very serious about getting people youth protection trained. They want everyone to take YPT, and certain jobs actually require it. The online training takes about 90 minutes and it's very informative. From my own experience, I can tell you that I learned a lot about not only protecting young people, but also about protecting myself. This slide walks you through the process to get to BSA training. Don't worry about copying this down. I'll give you a link at the end of the meeting for downloading a copy of this slide deck. At this week's AuxScout workshop on the standard operating procedure, I got a really good question about how to record our AuxScout related hours. The short answer is that you record them just like you would record any other hours. The key difference is adding an operations code to the report. Now I'm going to have to say something that is both confusing and maybe doesn't make a lot of sense. If you are not a registered Sea-Scout leader, you should add the operations code AUXSCO1 to the hours forms that are directly related to your AuxScout activity only. Don't apply it to hours that are not AuxScout related. On the other hand, if you are a registered Sea-Scout leader, apply the operations code AUXSCO2 to all of your hours forms, regardless of whether they're Sea-Scout related or not. This is what the SOP tells you to do, and this is how the Coast Guard headquarters wants it done. I received a follow-up question from one of the DSOs about whether you should report hours if you're not in auxiliary uniform, but you're just helping the Sea Scouts. This is a gray area, and I'd like to ask you to use your best judgment. I can tell you that I serve on the National Sea Scout Committee. If I'm functioning in my role as the official Coast Guard auxiliary liaison, I report my hours to the auxiliary. If I'm simply serving as a Sea Scout leader, I don't report my time. I hope that answers the question. As of today, we have 2 vacancies on the National Youth Program staff. They are branch assistants jobs in STEM projects and Academy liaison and photo archives. We also need help with public affairs and someone who can coordinate our training efforts. If you're interested in either job, or if you have a recommendation for someone to consider, please send me your ideas offline, email me, and let's get the additional help we need. Okay, so at this point, as you know, the fastest growing area in the boating community is paddling. This is both a good and a bad thing. Hundreds of thousands of people have gotten involved in paddle sports over the past few years because it's easy and cheap. Unfortunately, this is also the fastest growing area for on-the-water mishaps. Both the Coast Guard and the Sea Scouts have been focusing on addressing the need for paddle training, and to that end, I'd like to welcome back Dr. Robin Pope. Most of you already know Robin, so I won't take up any time with the lengthy introduction. It's more important that you hear what Robin can tell you about paddle training opportunities and resources. Robin, have you unmuted yourself?
I have, thank you.
Okay,
And
take it away.
do you want to screen share, or can I do that?
Yeah, okay. I just need to, what I need to do first is stop sharing here, and I have to figure out how to do that. Holly, do you know how to do that? Oh, wait a minute. I can pause share, but that's, there we go. I've stopped sharing. So, Robin, do you see the share screen button at the bottom of your screen? There he goes.
All right.
Excellent.
So Bruce, thank you very much for the chance to speak tonight. What we're going to do is first talk about why kayaking. If we look at data published by the Coast Guard's Office of Boating Safety in 2019, there were more than 22 million canoe, kayak, and stand-up paddleboard paddlers in the U.S. And other data shows that in 2017, there were nearly 19 million kayakers. Right now, we believe that recreational kayaking in relatively wide, relatively slow, beamy boats is the most popular paddling activity, with more than 11 million people participating in 2017. As you can see, we've had a more than 240% increase in kayaking from 2007 to 2017. And one reason for that is that it's straightforward to get started. Compared to canoeing, which used to be much more popular, kayaking is relatively easy to get in the water and get going. If you've ever gotten in a canoe by yourself, it's really easy to go in circles. Kayaking, it's easier to just get going and heading down what river or across the lake. The other reason we want to talk particularly about kayaking is because it is part of auxiliary programming as part of the AuxPad program. So if your ship has decided that they're going to go kayaking or doing any other kind of paddling, we've really got two options. And traditionally, you would go and get some on-land instruction, get fitted with life jackets and paddles, adjust your boat, get some safety overview, and then do some on-water practice. And ideally, that would include what to do if your boat capsizes, practice strokes and maneuvers, and learn some rescues. And then over time, get more practice both on the water and in classroom settings for things like navigation and communication exercises. During COVID, though, or during wintertime, we really got two options. And the first is that you could just look at your boat and wish you could paddle. And I'm afraid that too many people are doing that, because a second option is to use free video and reading resources that are available, as well as existing other scouting resources. And for this presentation, I've really focused on free resources, because if your ship's budget is anything like my ship's budget, free is about what you can afford. We want to make it as easy as possible for scouts and for scouting leaders and auxiliary personnel to get these resources and get some solid information. So if we look at some written resources, these are all available on the American Canoe Association's website. There's a publication called Paddling 101, and that gives an overview of different kinds of paddling and basic safety issues that you'd want to look at before you got on the water. American has a list of infographics that give basic safety information. And finally, they've published an 8-page pamphlet that looks at fundamental safety issues. This is based on rescue data and accident data, and it helps guide new paddlers on how to prevent accidents, because the goal, of course, is to prevent them before you have to respond to them. There are also a number of video resources, and particularly in this day when people are looking at their phone and using those for videos, I think these video resources are really critical, because they do provide a visual explanation of how to paddle. They provide great resources, and they provide something for the students and for auxiliary and scout leaders to go back and look at and refresh what they've learned. So the first is the Safer Paddling series, and I'm going to link us to that in a moment. I'm going to try to link us to that. We're going to do something a little different. So, Bruce, did that come through?
No, we're just seeing the PowerPoint slide.
Okay. How about that?
You may need to stop sharing.
There we go.
Okay.
No, we had it for a moment before you stopped sharing. Okay.
How's that?
Give it a second. There you go. You got it.
Okay, great. So the paddle video series was produced through Coast Guard funding, and it's a series of 8 videos that start with life jackets and what to wear, and then move on through essential gear, basic strokes, trip planning, rules of the road. And rules of the road for paddling, even though technically they are the same as they are for any other craft, are functionally a little bit different. First thing that paddlers need to recognize is that the law of gross tonnage definitely applies. I may be the one that has officially right of way, but that doesn't help me if the boat runs me over. So what I always teach for paddlers is to remember that we are slow, small, and hard to see, and having right of way doesn't matter once you're run over. So our job is to avoid other boaters, stay out of channels, stay in groups, stay in areas where we are unlikely to have conflicts. Talk a little bit about what if you flip, and then call them for help. And this gives a very good overview. It's about 30 minutes of total video, provides a nice start for instruction, and then it wraps up with some safety quizzes. So I'm going to stop that share and go back. The American Canoe Association's YouTube channel has a large series of videos, and when this PowerPoint gets presented or shown on our auxiliary site, you can click on this, but there's a whole list of videos that are available. There's also a list of ACA's Smart Web TV series. Some of the things that are in there are the Smart Start for Paddling video, which is similar to what you would see in the Safer Paddling video series, but presented by a different person, a different way of looking at it. A really useful video is the video Life Jackets Float. I hope people have seen that before. If they haven't, we're going to give just a quick interview or a quick overview of it. And so this is an entertaining video that emphasizes the importance of wearing your life jacket. And other things that are available are information by Cold Water Boot Camp and Beyond Cold Water Boot Camp, which emphasizes the importance of dressing appropriately for cold water exposure, talks about the risk of cold shock, cold incapacitation, hypothermia, and then circumrescue collapse. And if you're not familiar with those terms, I strongly encourage you to look at these. Many people in the paddling environment, when they get in the water, they think about hypothermia as the primary concern. But the reality is that rapid exposure to cold water can be life-threatening long before cold water leads to hypothermia. So both of these videos series talk about that. The final video that we should look at is Performance Video, which is a company owned by Kent Ford, who is a paddling guru. I'm going to pull up his in a moment. So in a moment, you'll see the homepage for Performance Video. Kent Ford is the former head of instruction for Nantahala Outdoor Center. He owns a paddling school in Durango, Colorado. And for a long time, he produced a number of high quality videos on paddling for canoeing, whitewater kayaking, and sea kayaking. He has very generously made all of these videos available for free download and free streaming. So things, performance sea kayaking has been considered one of the fundamental videos that people would use for canoeing. Drill time, if you're involved in whitewater self-defense is one of the best videos that's available. And the River Runner's Edge is one of the best for whitewater paddling. So typically each of these is about $30, and they are all available for advantage of Kent's very generous offering of these.
Okay.
So if we go back to PowerPoint, there are some other things that we can use, and some scouting resources. Certainly kayak, canoe, and whitewater merit badges are available. And then the Sea Scout manual has a fair bit of paddling information, and that manual is available for free download at the link that's shown here. Next steps in terms of developing video and printed resources, the AuxPad staff is working on additional presentations to meet the needs of the auxiliary, Sea Scouts, and the overall boating community. And if you or your unit have any specific needs or requests that you're looking for, please feel free to contact me at my auxiliary email address. And if anyone has, I'll be happy to answer them. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Robin. Okay, so just a time check. We're now 34 minutes in, and we're on to your questions and discussion topics. So let's get started. I heard from several people who mused that because of COVID, we just can't do anything. Let me just move this over. We just can't do anything. Let me begin by saying that that just isn't true. The Coast Guard wants us to continue to actively promote recreational boating safety, and it's important. An important piece of that effort is AuxScout. What is true is that as of today, we can't interact with the public in ways that we were previously able to do, and it was easy and routine. We have to be creative and maybe go beyond our usual comfort zone. As a national leader of both the Auxiliary and the Sea Scouts, I can report that the individuals and units that have creatively embraced the communication opportunities are succeeding and will come out of the COVID emergency stronger than ever. The flip side is equally true. The individuals and units that are just waiting it out will at best get much weaker, and at worst will disappear altogether. This is our moment. We can choose to succeed, or we can choose to fail. It isn't easy, but it's a choice. So let me ask you, what are other people doing to keep things moving forward right now? I know this is a topic we talk about every time we come together, and I think it's a great topic to discuss. What are other people doing to keep busy, keep promoting recreational boating safety, keep promoting the Sea Scout relationship? Unmute yourself if you want to offer a comment.
Hey, Bruce, it's Jason Oliveira with First Northern.
Hey, Jason.
Hi. A couple things that we have been doing is trying to get training up and running for when restrictions do get lifted. So our district's working on a virtual D-Train to have in March. So we're looking to have a series of AuxScout training events open up there. So that's one thing that we're focusing on right now.
We did that in our district, and Ninth Western asked me to do the same for them, and we had some really good workshops. Another thing that we can be doing right now is offering member training courses. Last year, our flotilla put on the auxiliary seamanship specialty course and offered it to the Sea Scouts. We had about 50 auxiliarists, and about a third of the class were Sea Scouts. This year, we're going to do the auxiliary communications course, and again, we're offering it to the Sea Scouts. Other ideas?
Hi, Bruce. It's Arnie.
Hi, Arnie.
How are you today?
Okay.
One of the biggest things, and I wear several hats with the two organizations. Take a lesson from the kids. Ship 1909 in East Greenwich, Rhode Island, uses several different platforms. They break out into meetings to do their own training. I know that sometimes goes beyond our comfort level as more senior people, but the technology that's out there, and not the groundbreaking stuff, Zoom, things like that, make great platforms just to get us continue to work with ones that we have contacts with, and as a bridge to start talking about the possibilities for both sponsoring new ships, for getting a partnership with them. Go through your local Sea Scout leadership, the Boy Scout councils, get some contacts, get yourself invited, and just start talking. A lot of them are realizing there's great opportunity in the pandemic to still keep going with things. And I think if we jump on board with some of this, again, like Bruce said, we're going to get stronger if we keep the pressure on, we keep making these new contacts. And when this is behind us, we can go in person and, hey, that's the guy who we know from the meeting, from the trainings, from the guy talking about what some of those possible future programs might be. So learn from the kids and get down to their level with the technology and go with it.
Absolutely. And another thing to remember is that a lot of other organizations are just not able to do anything right now. And we have the advantage that we can. So let's take advantage of that opportunity. Anybody else want to jump in on this topic before we move on to the next one?
Sure, Bruce.
I heard. Okay, Tom, why don't you go next?
Okay. Yeah, I'm working with Ship 244 here in Central North Carolina, and they are utilizing like Google Meeting and Zoom. We're still doing training. We're even doing charting over it. We found that there's quite a bit you can do. You can do splicing. There's a number of things that you can do training wise with that. And the kids are on the go with it constantly. They're right in there. They're very smart. They pick up quick, and they can learn over this medium. So it's not a bad thing to keep them going. They're also going out on events, but they're doing the appropriate thing with the wearing the mask, staying distance. If they're on the boat, they're generally one per boat. We did a river cruise about 2 weeks ago down the Neuse River, and there was about 8 of them that went down. Each had their own vessel. They stopped overnight. An adult went down, set up tents in appropriate distancing. Each scout had their own tent. So they come up with a lot of ways. They carry their own food with them so that they don't mix the food with other people's. They're very creative with this, and so we've kept going that way. The ship has even made friends with a group that was starting a ship down in Fayetteville, and I understand this last week that Ship 94 is coming on board, or came on board last week, I believe it was, that they registered. So they are planning at this point to have a welcome aboard with that Ship 94 pretty soon. We're not sure what that's going to look like yet, but they're talking about how they can get away with it.
Well, and another thing that they're learning by doing what you're talking about, Tom, is they're learning resilience and problem solving.
Oh, yeah.
I think we all know lots and lots of adults who just can't seem to punch their way out of a wet paper bag when they're confronted with problems. And this is a doozy of a problem. And your Sea Scouts in North Carolina are doing a great job of figuring out how to rise above and succeed in tough times. There was one other person who I think wanted to offer a comment.
Hey, Bruce, it's John Michael.
Hey, John
Hey.
Michael.
This is a outstanding opportunity right now to think outside of the box. I'd encourage our auxiliary members to take the time to build relationships with the existing Sea Scout programs in your area. Be sure to reach out, offer offer assistance where you can. We're accustomed to offering public education courses and classic program visitor types of opportunities, but this is a great way to reach out. Even if scouts are permitted in our area to meet, and we're not permitted to meet with them in a lot of districts, there's no reason why we can't and join their programs. Find out what they need. They need a lot. They really do. They want, and part of the scouting program is adults providing mentorship and facilitating training for young adults so that they can shine and they can grow to become responsible citizens. And if we go ahead and think outside of just the public education box, we may find that we could help them out with some, perhaps some non-traditional things. Take a look at the Sea Scout manual. Robin, thanks for throwing that link up there. If you haven't already, every one of our AuxScout staffers should be downloading that manual for free and thumbing through it virtually. There are a lot of opportunities in the Sea Scouts advancement that you could stick your nose into and offer your expertise and help them with advancement. There's nothing in the advancement program in Sea Scouts that says a particular qualified skipper or mate has to be the one offering the assistance. It's anyone. We call them specialists in the program. And you can get in there and teach folks how to tie knots. You could join them in a virtual meeting, even if they're camping. Heck, those kids, when they go camping these days, are sure to not go too far away from signal. So you can join them at a campfire by their phone and offer up some training. This is actually, too, an opportunity to take that great sailing and boating experience you have, maybe a couple sea stories that are relevant to the Sea Scout program. These kids want to know about your experiences. They want to know about your prior military experience if you have that. They want to know about, and believe it or not, they learn from positive stories about some maybe not so positive experiences we've had on the water. They eat that stuff up. So reach out, offer some non-traditional things, even if it's just to virtually glad hand a little bit and make yourself known. These are golden opportunities. I view a lot of programs, what has happened since March, these kids have been online, they've done a lot of training, things are starting to get a little bit stale, and it's perfect opportunity for auxiliary to show a new face. And sometimes, even if it's the same training they did 6 months ago, if it comes from a different facilitator, a different uniform, maybe you have an opportunity to grow. So that's what we're facing in California. As you can imagine, we are completely locked down out in California, and the kids are meeting in some circumstances, but auxiliary certainly is not. This is a great way for us to get some hours and get some exposure.
Okay, thank you very much, Sean Michael. I heard from several of you that you're struggling to figure out what we can be doing during the current COVID emergency. It's a really good question, and before I share my thoughts, actually, we've been talking about some of these things. What we can be doing right now with the Sea Scouts. And let me just offer a few things that I've been talking with several of you about this, and some of the comments I've been getting are public education courses. I know that traditionally we rely on teaching those face-to-face, but I'm also aware of a number of flotillas that are teaching public education courses online. You can be offering member training courses, leadership training, risk management, TCT training. That's just as relevant to the Sea Scouts as it is to us, and helping with Sea Scout advancement training. We have time for one or two comments. Anybody want to throw in anything else on this?
This is Pat Curley. I'm here in Morehead City, North Carolina. I am a chairman of a Sea Scout ship. I'm also the new SO for AS for our division. one of the things that I'm a little concerned about is the fact that a lot of these Sea Scout ships in most councils, they're kind of working in isolation from the rest of scouting. And I will tell you, years ago when I was a young lad, I can remember going to Sea Explorer conferences in Newport, Rhode Island, and they would bring folks in from all over. And I would like to see some things instead of on a national level, maybe on a division level, so that these kids can start developing relationships with one another, get to know each other. So when we do these trainings, we can start face to face, but when we finally get together and start organizing ourselves, we can actually have joint training programs together. And I think that's really important. I think a lot of these high school kids are really looking for an opportunity to meet other Sea Scouts.
Yep, you're absolutely right, Pat. Teenagers are very social. They like to do stuff together with other teenagers. Something that the auxiliary helps out with here in Maryland, there are a couple of opportunities. One, you've heard us talk about safety at sea. We just held one in November here in Maryland, and we had about 150 people participate in that. Another opportunity that I know is held in a number of different locations around the country is it's called different things. Around here it's called Winter Training Weekend. Some places call it Sea Scout Academy, but it's an opportunity to get together to do training during the winter months when most of us are not getting out on the water. Get the kids together for a weekend of training and socializing and having fun, frankly. So yeah, you're absolutely right. And while we can't hold those events face to face right now would be a perfect time to be starting to build them so that you have the people together, and when we are able to see one another face to face, you're ready to go. Failure to plan ensures that you're not going to be ready. So great idea.
Well, they had I think the Boy Scouts of America had the Great American Camp-In, and the World Scouting Organization had a World Jamboree, and it was an entire weekend of program. I'm wondering if, as a Coast Guard Auxiliary, we could put together a Sea Scout weekend where we actually list over the weekend various training events or various topics that kids can check in on, and literally create a patch and all kinds of stuff, and just make it a big Sea Scout event. Good
See
for you.
this?
Yes, I saw that. I want one of those.
Did you attend?
I did not.
Well, there's a lesson in that, isn't there?
I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. All right. Well, your district AuxScout meeting is going to be a week from tonight, and I would suggest you talk with Holly and see what can be done. I think I saw a comment from Tom Cox, who's the ADSO for your area, that there was an activity in the formative stages in your area. I may be speaking out of turn, but now that I've put Tom on the spot, he'll have that all set and ready to go in another week or two.
Super fantastic. Great.
He's chuckling, I can see.
Bruce?
Yeah.
Bruce?
Hoping to see the Hampton Roads Coast Guard Station open up their weekend with the Sea Scouts when COVID is over. That was a great thing in the past, and hope to see it go again. Was there for 2 years.
Right. Yes, I remember seeing about that. That's a great location for that.
But that was Sea Scouts camping in the gym for 3 nights, and with the active Coast Guard and the auxiliary for 3 days.
That's how we used to run it at the Curtis Bay Coast Guard Yard, but we've switched to a single day event, in part because we're able to get more people involved that way. The last time we did it face to face, we had 186 people there on a Saturday.
We were working on that with the Tampa or St. Pete Coast Guard station when COVID hit. And so that's all sitting on hold right now.
Yeah, this is something, the model for this started in the San Francisco Bay Area. I see John Michael is grinning at this point because he's been very involved with that for years. They're the granddaddy of the safety at sea events, but it's been exported in a number of different locations. They hold it every year in Galveston. They held it in Lorain, Ohio last year. Not last year, the year before. Last year we were in lockdown, weren't we? But it's a great event. The kids have a wonderful time and they learn a lot, and they have an opportunity to interact with auxiliaries and coasties, active duty coasties. And I'll tell you from my own experience here in Maryland, the coasties just absolutely love it. You know, they just love the opportunity to work with teenagers who have an interest in what they do for a living. So it's a win-win all the way around. Okay, I want to, you know, we're at the 55-minute mark, and I want to just cover briefly some of the other topics that came in. There were a couple of questions that came in about recruitment, and they are really great questions, and we already have the answer. And that is that we did an AuxScout workshop last November, and we had Sea Scout skippers from all over the country who gave us best practice examples of how they do what they do with recruitment. And the workshop, this is AuxScout Workshop 209, is available on the YouTube channel, and it's also linked to on AuxB Wiki. I've also linked the Sea Scout recruitment book on AuxB Wiki. I frankly pulled it off the BSA website, but it provides some useful stuff. For some reason, I linked to the slide deck as well, and for some reason that link doesn't seem to be working. But if you want to get the slide deck for the AuxScout 209 workshop, just email me and I'll email it back to you. I know that'll work. Okay, and then there are also promotional materials. The AuxScout website has a marketing page, tinyurl.com/aux-marketing. And the Sea Scouts have a similar page, seascout.org/marketing-toolbox. And there's lots of good stuff there that will help with recruitment. Okay, another great question that came in is, what is a commissioner or commodore and how can they help me? And let me take a stab at this. I'm not going to be able to spend a lot of time on this, but I think I can help clarify who they are and what they're supposed to be doing. The Sea Scouts have commodores at the council, area, regional, and national levels. They're more or less equivalent to our divisions, sectors, districts, and national structure. They have management responsibilities that include program, training, membership, and unit support functions. They should be able to put you in touch with unit leaders and other Sea Scout leaders who have specific responsibilities to the program. Commissioners also function in each of these levels, but usually they're responsible for working with all BSA programs. Most know little about Sea Scouting, though some are very interested in the program and genuinely want to ensure Sea Scout success. There are some places where Sea Scout leadership is very thin or even non-existent. In some of those places, the commissioners fill that role, If in doubt, ask your DSO, who should be able to point you in the right direction. Your DSO has a contact spreadsheet, which has the primary contacts at the regional and area levels, and they should be working with their CScout counterparts to identify who they should be working with on the council level. Now, let me add another complicating thing. We talked about this last time. You probably remember last time that we talked about the BSA is planning on going reorganizing to territories. That is going to get implemented in May at the BSA National Annual Meeting, and the territories are going to replace the region and area functions. Instead of having 4 regions and 28 areas, there will be 16 territories. The map for these territories has been settled and it has been published. And I can't remember whether I posted it on the Facebook page. Does anybody remember if I did that? Doesn't ring any bells for anybody. I'll ask my wife to remind me afterwards, and I'll post a copy of that map. I know that the Sea Scouts are working on trying to identify what those territories are going to look like for Sea Scouts and who's going to be doing what. So that's going to affect what we're talking about. For the moment, though, go with the current council area and regional structures. Okay, let's see, what else do we got? Okay, I'm going to give, this is the impossible task. I'm going to give Bill Smith 2 minutes to talk. And we all know that for Bill, that means it's going to be a little bit more than 2 minutes. But I'm reminded of a cartoon that my division's IS staff officer likes to point to. It shows someone sitting on a toilet with a roll of paper on the wall, and the caption is, "The work isn't done until you've done the paperwork." As you know, we're only going to grow the program if lots of people know about it. And to that end, Bill, would you like to tell us why we should be doing more to promote the program through our PA efforts?
It's a matter of survival.
Yep.
Over time, first of all, people sift out of the organization. We have to keep retelling our story. If we don't, frankly, people start to forget about us. If we want to grow this program, and we have a lot of explaining to do to auxiliaries and possibly even Sea Scout ships regarding who and what we are. And some people, given some of the publicity we've, not the auxiliary, but the scouting has received, there's a lot of fence mending, possibly. I don't know exactly what the right term is, but it's public relations when it comes right down to it. So the bottom line is this. I'm a one-person shop at this point in time. I need tools. Those tools are photographs. Those tools are articles. They're press releases, and we're going to talk more and more in the future about how to do those things. I'm starting to get some response, which is encouraging. So the bottom line, and I'm trying to stay under 2 minutes because you challenged me, Bruce, is send me your stories. You can find my, I'll give it to you right now, bill.smith@cgauxnet.us. So that's bill.smith@cgauxnet.us. I will work with anyone I can get my hands on. And the other side of that coin is I can learn so much about this program. You guys know Sea Scouting. I know marketing. Teach me. Back to you, Bruce.
Thank you. And Bill will teach you too. A reminder that he's putting on a workshop later this month. That's second installment on public affairs stuff. So, okay, here are some URLs you need to copy down. tinyurl.com/AuxScoutlinks2. And then this presentation, you can download at tinyurl.com/staff-forum-2021-01. We're recording this, and assuming that I don't press the wrong button, we'll convert this recording to a video that we can upload to the Facebook channel, and we'll make that available probably tomorrow, and we'll link to it from Auxby Wiki. Okay. So thanks so much, team, for your efforts. These are trying times. How we deal with them will say as much about us as anything else. You can make a difference. Your enthusiasm will help to build a stronger Coast Guard auxiliary with more younger boaters involved than ever before. We're doing this for the Sea Scouts, but we're doing this for ourselves as well. I'm really proud to be working with you. Let me know how I can help you. And the parting shot is, here is my email address. I would urge you to work with your chain of leadership, but if it's something that you need to go to me directly, please go ahead and do it. But please make sure that you include your DSO in that message, because he or she needs to know what you're talking with me about it, so that we're all on the same page. Our next quarterly all staff forum is going to be on April 11th at 20:30 Eastern Time. And please let me know what you liked about this forum, but also let me know how we can make it more useful to you. I'm always struggling with getting enough good questions so that we're focusing on the stuff you want to know. Anybody have anything that they'd like to share with the group as a parting comment?
Bruce, if I may, this is JD DeCastro. I'm just kind of going along with everything Bill and y'all said about publicization. Another quick, easy way to do it is share the YouTube page. Get more people involved, get them to like it, get them to subscribe, ring the bell, all that stuff. Great way to get the word out, especially with modern day youth. We pretty much live on YouTube.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, JD. We've got lots of good content there. Please subscribe. Please ring the bell. What ringing the bell does, by the way, guys, is that you get notified anytime we upload a new video. It doesn't require you to watch it, but that way you know what the latest and greatest is. We're working hard to support you, because you are the folks down in the trenches. You're getting the job done. And if we don't provide you with the resources you need, then we're not doing our jobs. So let us know what you need from us, and we will work night and day to help you be successful. Any other comments or questions for the good of the cause?
I just put a little note in there also. That logo there is pretty awesome. I'd love to see some stickers or something like that comes out so we can get the word out on that.
Well, what we're working on right now is we're trying to get permission to turn this into a patch. The folks who are taking C badge next month, we have an anonymous donor has offered to pay for patches made to look like this. And the challenge is we have to get permission from both the auxiliary and the Boy Scouts of America. And right now we're having trouble getting BSA to respond. This past 12-month period, we've gone through 4 National Sea Scout directors. 3 of them were let go as BSA has shed staff. And so the people who are left are running around like headless chickens, trying to deal with the latest thing they have to deal with. So the problem is not with the auxiliary. The problem is with BSA, and I'm doing my best to get an answer. But yes, I've heard that from quite a few people, and we're looking at some other things, but we'll start with a patch and see what we can do from there. Keep in mind that the patch won't go on the auxiliary uniform, but it could conceivably go on the Sea Scout uniform on the right pocket. So, okay, anything else for the good of the cause? All right, folks, thank you very much for joining us. Let me know what you liked and what you felt could have been done differently to make it better. Send me an email. Also, please let me know what workshops you'd like to see put on. We're here to help you. We'll make it happen. Thanks so much for what you do. Next forum is April 11th at 20:30 Eastern Time. Thanks so much and good night, folks.
Good night, everybody.
Night, everybody.